a concept here that is ViewState. That is about ViewState. Explained in the last class, but still let me give you an overview of the things here. Actually, web applications are stateless. Web applications are stateless. What is the meaning of it? What the meaning of it is, web applications will not maintain the state of values between multiple requests of a page. I repeat, web applications will not maintain the state of values between multiple requests of a page. What exactly is the meaning of that is, light launch అక్కడ లైట్ లాంచ్ చేయండి అక్కడ So what we're talking is web applications doesn't maintain the state of values. Web applications are stateless. So what exactly is that stateless is? Look, guys, actually I have a small requirement. What is my requirement? My requirement is I have a page that has a button and a label. On the click of this button, I want to display here the number of times the button is clicked. Am I clear what I'm telling you? On the click of this particular button, I want to display the number of times the button is clicked. You might click on the button for once or twice or thrice, but it has to show me the count now. Are you clear? So that's what exactly my requirement is. On the click of the button, it has to show me the number of times the button is clicked. And to achieve it, first I declare one field here, count equal to 0. And coming to the button click, now what I'm doing, count plus equals to 1. And then in the label, I'm writing lbl count.text is equals to count plus the count. I'll select hit count. Hit count. It count value. So now, see, when I run the page, when I run this particular page and start clicking on the buttons now, I'll start clicking on the button. Now you start clicking on the button, guys. Suppose I clicked on this button. When I click on this button, what do you expect now? The count to increment the 1 and shows the value now. Click. Got it. Now we click on the button in time. What do you expect? The value is 2. Every click of the button, you expect the value to increment now. Am I right? Every click of the button, you expect the value to increment to this particular value. Okay, let me click on the button. Say not incrementing. Why is it not incrementing? Why is the value incrementing? That's what I'm telling you. Web applications are stateless. So what exactly happens is, listen, you click on a button here. You just click on a button. And whenever you click on a button, what will happen? A request goes to the server. A request goes to the server. And your page is a class now. Your page is a class. Server will create the instance of this class now. Server will create the instance of the class. Once the instance is created, immediately what will happen? Count is initialized with 0. Character executes the code under the click of the button. Executes the code under the click of the button. What is the value? Count is 0. pressing, and this becomes 1 now. Now that value is assigned to label. That value is assigned to hit count 1. And now this response is sent to browser. The response is sent to the browser. And once the response is sent to the browser, immediately the page object is destroyed. Immediately what will happen? The page object is destroyed. Array page object destroyed means count is also destroyed now. Yes or not? Once the result is sent to the browser, immediately this page class object which is created by the server will be destroyed. So count also destroyed. So that's why when I click on the button for second time, the whole story repeats again now. Again, creates the open the mouth here, open the mouth, sleeping lazily. Creates the instance of the page class. Second, declares the field count. Declares the field count. Next, comes to now. Every time you click on the button, create an instance, initialize all the fields, increment or do whatever it is, send the results. Once the result is sent, object is destroyed. Once everything is destroyed now, this once the response goes to browser, it's a whitewash. We don't have any information of that request on the server. And this is what we call as, did you catch my point? This is what we call as statelessness. So that's what web applications are, stateless. Clear? I'm not talking about ASP.NET here. I'm talking about web application. This is same for every technology. Tomorrow you work with PHP, tomorrow work with JSP, whatever web technology you work, this behavior won't change now. For every web application, the behavior will be same now. Creating an instance, initializing everything, manipulations done, results are sent, and the object is destroyed. See, it is just like a movie, guys. Every show will start from the first only. Every show starts from the first only. The movie completed. Again, next show again starts from the first now. There are no traces of the world in the second show now. Are you clear? So this is how it runs actually. Is a problem I have. What is the problem? Sometimes I may require the values of one request in my next request. The values that are sent in one request, I want to use them in my next request, either for the same page or for a different page also. My requirement is like that. The browser has sent some values to the server now, and I want to use these values not now. I want to use these values in the next request. In the next request. But that's not possible. That is not possible. And to overcome this problem, they introduced us a concept called as ViewState. What is that? ViewState. What is ViewState? ViewState is a mechanism using which we can maintain the state of values within a page. Okay, what is the ViewState? ViewState is a mechanism using which we can maintain the state of values between multiple requests of a page. Between multiple requests of a page, we can maintain the state of values. So how to use this? How to use it? Watch it, guys. We need to store the values like this. View state of string is equals to value. And its values of type object, man. This values of type object. For example, I want to store a set of values like this. View state of ID is equals to 1001. Say, observe it, keys which type? String type. Now the value is integer now. Same way tomorrow, I'm again writing view state of name is equals to some name. It's a string now. View state of salary is equals to 50,000. What is that? It's a double now. I can store different types of values here. That's what a values which type? Object. So if you want to maintain the state of any values now, if you want to maintain the state of values, what you're required to do? You're required to store your values in the view state. You're required to store the values in the view state. Next time, in the second request, see in the first request, store them in the view state. In the next request, you can access them in the view state now. You can access them from the view state. Are you clearer or not? Okay, how to access them from the view state? This is storing values into view state. Next thing is accessing, guys. Accessing values from view state. I want to access the values from view state now. How to access the values from view state? If you want to access the values from view state, this is a process here. How to access, int id is equals to, first let me tell you the syntax. Object obj equals to view state of string key. Guys, remember, view state will store your value which format? Object. Certain type is object only now. So how to get it? Int id is equals to int of view state of id. As an object, I'm converting into integer now. Same way. String name is equals to string of view state of name. Next. Double salary is equals to double of view state of salary. This is how you are going to store the values and access the values. Okay, if you follow this mechanism, you can maintain the state of values of within the request now. You can maintain the state of values. Now, coming back to our requirement, what is our requirement? I want to increment this one now, but it's not happening. Why is it not happening? Because every time this value is getting destroyed and recreating every time. Destroying, recreating. So I'm not able to maintain the whole value. If the whole value is there, only can increment now. When the whole value is not there, incrementation is not possible. So to avoid this problem, see guys what all of you, what I'm doing in my code. Come back, I'm just modifying the code. Watch it. First time when I click on the button, understand there is nothing in the view state. There is nothing in the view state. So I'm doing a check like this. What is it? If view state of counter, some name, I'm giving the name as counter, is equals to null. Can you understand the meaning of it? What is the meaning of it? There is nothing in the view state now. There is nothing in the view state. Nothing present in the view state means what is the meaning? This is the first time you are calling it. This is the first time you are calling it. So what I'm doing, I'm making count equals to 1. That indicates you're in the first request. Are you clear? Finally, what I'm doing, view state of counter is equals to count. And LBL count.text is equals to, okay, what is it? Hit count plus count. All of you, carefully observe. First time when I click on the button, what is the value of the hit counter? Null. So what will become? 1. Now this 1 is stored in the view state now. And going to show in the label. Now the label will show you hit count 1 now. You clicked on the button for second time now. When you click on the button for second time, this condition is false. Yes or not? Why, sir? Because you stored the value in the counter. So this condition is going to become false now. So when this condition becomes false, I take you to the else part. I take you to the else 1. So and adding 1 now. How much it becomes? 2. Now the 2 is stored in the view state and shown to the user now. Third time you click. What is the value? 2 plus 1. 3. Now 3 is stored in the view state. So every click, this view state value gets incremented now. Come on, let's put a breakpoint here, guys. Let's put a breakpoint. Come on, run it. Where did you write the code button click? Am I correct? When will the logic in the button click execute? When I click on the button only. When I click on the button, now the page is opened. Now I'll click on the button. Is it the first time I'm clicking on the button or not? I clicked. Now see, use state of count is equals to null. Is it true? What happened? Count became 1. Now it will come to the outside of the loop now, and count is stored in the view state here. What is the value in the view state? 1. And now that value is stored in the label, assigned to the label. Now I click on the hit count again. When I click, what happens now? The sub condition is false. Comes to else part. Already we have value in view state now. What is the value? Plus 1, 2. And that 2 is stored in the view state now and assigned to the label. See there. Again, count. Comes to else part. Becomes 3. Now like this, every time you click on this, it will increment your view state value. See. Are you in the state here? Yes or not? So don't forget it. What is it? Web applications will not maintain the state of the value. So required to take the help of the view state. Clear? Now tell me this one. Remember today when I introduced you ASP.NET server controls, I said you a difference between HTML. What are the two differences? But ASP.NET server controls will mean once we click on the submit button, HTML text boxes or HTML controls gets cleared off. But ASP.NET server controls will not be cleared. I showed you very clearly about it. Correct? Except password text box, all controls will maintain the state values. Am I right? And that is also view state only. And that functionality is also view state functionality only, but as control state. But I live view state only, but what they call control state. We call that as a control state. Okay. Why we use view state? That only I shown you. Again, you're asking why do we use view state? Maybe you're late in the class. Saturday also explained you. Count plus plus. Not do count plus plus now. How can plus count? Understand? Plus plus. If count plus plus can be done, why did I maintain view state now? Say, guys, already count is initialized with 0. Now what it becomes? 1. Okay now? Now I cut on for second time. And all of you observe it. Count is 0, man. You cannot say count plus plus now. That only is only first. And if I can do count plus plus, there's no point of using the state. Count is 0. Why? Again, the variable is declared now. Again, the variable is declared. So count value is 0. What should I do? View state value plus 1. And otherwise, first copy the value in the view state and the next line write count plus plus. I done in the same line here without doing in the same line. Can I do like this? Next line. Both are same only, na? And I without writing an extra line, I written the code directly on the same line only. Simple mathematics, that is. Okay. What is the concept? What we are discussing? Applications are stateless. Maintain the state of values. Are you clearer or not? Okay, so that's all about the view state mechanism, what we just have. Okay, just a minute. Say, read that all of you. Clear or not? Okay, they don't maintain the state of values. So initially, without using ViewState, I written the code. How did I write? Count as equals to 1 and this one. So what you're getting, every time you're getting one only, read this paragraph. Any number of times you click, the value will be one only. Because store it in the ViewState and retrieve it back again in the Postback now. How to store a value? How to access the value? You're storing an object and you're fetching back the object. Now I've rewritten the code now. ViewState of count is equals to 0. Count is equals to 1. Yes. Count equals to int of ViewState of counter plus 1. And ViewState of count is equals to count and LBL count.text is equals to it count of count. Are you getting me? Okay, say same as the above. Every ASP.NET control will also maintain the state of its values. And we call it as control state, which will hold the values of controls and restore the values of the control after every postback. So basically, the controls maintaining the state is also inbuilt technology, that is inbuilt. Control state is inbuilt mechanism here, but use state is user. If user wants to use, then we use that. Are you clearer or not? Control state is built, but you want to store your values, we can use ViewState. But both are similar functionalities. Both will work in the same way. Are you getting me or not? Okay. So that's what exactly the main idea of the ViewState is going to be. So we maintain the ViewState like this, and we call that as a ViewState. We can maintain the value control state, ViewState. Two kind of the concept. Yeah, that is the page life cycle. What is it? Page life cycle. This is one of the very important concept in your ASP.NET. And tomorrow, when you go to interviews, this is a mandatory question asked forms. What is that? Page life cycle. Okay. See how a page gets processed. How a page gets processed on the server. See, you have a page on the server. You have one page on the server. For example, hit count is the page what we have on the server. Okay. Now, a request came for this page from the browser. A request came for the page on the browser. The request goes to where? From the browser to web server. The browser to web server. And you remember web server is a software? Web server is a software. And the request is going from the browser to the server. Are you getting me or not? And when the request goes from the browser to the server, what happens now? On the server, there is a component, there is someone who is going to take your request. Who will take the request. There is a DLL file on the server which will take your request, called as isapi.dll. What is that? The complete name is ASP.NET_ISAPI.dll. What is that? ASP.NET_ files. The same technique was adopted here also. The class is defined on two separate files. So guys, watch it. First file. And this is the file where you are purely writing all your second file. No energy in everyone's face here. I am shouting, but you're lazy. No energy I could see in everyone's face now. Understood? What is first file? Who writes code here? You're a developer. Developer, not yoga. Yoga means and yoga. Developer. Who writes the code here? Developer. And this code is generated by the studio based on the code written by developer in the ASPX. ASPX code also written by developer only. Based on the code written in the ASPX studio is generating this code now. Are you clear? Now what happens, basically what happens now is based on this class, it will generate a new class here. Based on this, it will generate a new class. What is the new class it generates you? ASP.hitCount_ASPX. What is that set? Simple. Your page name is test.aspx. What is your page name? So the new class name will be ASP.test_ASPX. Did you understand or not? Your page name is test.aspx. So what will be the new class name? ASP.test_ASPX. It will generate this class actually for you. I will show you that one just a minute. Now you answer my question. My page name is login page. What is the name? Login page. Now what is the new class name? ASP.login page_ASPX. Are you clearer or not? That is the name of the actual class which is going to be generated. I will show you this. Hold on. One day, we created a login page, success page, and failure page. Remember? When you enter the valid credentials and click, it will take you to login page. We went by using server.transfer. Correct? So let me take you to the success page now. Where am I now? From where you will come here? Directly or from a login page? From login page. Means, what is the previous page for success page? Simple English here. I did not ask any complicated word. What is the previous page for login page? Sorry, success page. Login page. All of you clear now? There is a property called as previous page. There is a property called as previous page. This previous page will provide you the information of the previous page for the current page. What did it provide you? The information of the previous page for the current page. This property will get the previous page information. And just now you said, what is the previous page? Login page. All of you watch it carefully. I am running login page now. And I will enter valid credentials and I will go to success page now. And I had a breakpoint there and I had a line of code also now. Okay, watch carefully. Okay, click on login. Oh, we already, on the day we changed this code now, and this is not valid, we discussed. Server.transfer, where you want to go? Success page.aspx. Because on that day, I already explained you, man, server.transfer cannot take you out of the site. It can take only within the site, pages within the site. Okay, click on login. See guys, where you came now? Success page. In the success page, you have a property. What is the property? Previous page. And this provides you the information of the previous page. All of you can see the name now. That's what I want to show you. Did you notice it? What is the name? ASP.loginpage_ASPX. Where ASP is a namespace here. Under that, the class name is loginpage_ASPX. If the class name is successpage.aspx, what will be successpage_ASPX? The ASP's namespace here, all are defined in the same namespace only. So what is the name now? Successpage_ASPX. Failure page.aspx is what you created. A failure page_ASPX. That is how it will generate. So what I'm trying to tell you now, internally the compiler will generate a new class, and this class will be inheriting from your actual class. What is your actual class? Hit count. Hit count is your actual class now. Sir, multiple inheritance? No, it is not multiple inheritance here. It is single inheritance only. One class only, na? Two files. When you set two files, don't count like multiple inheritance. That not multiple inheritance. That is single inheritance only. Correct or not? Okay, just to understand, these two files are present. I showed you like that. Don't think like two classes or anything. Not two classes. It's only one class. There are two files. That's all. Not two classes. Okay. So now listen. Actually, the execution class is not hit count. The execution class is hit count underscore ASPX. Are you clearer or not what I'm telling you? What is that? Execution class is not hit count. Execution class is hit count. Just now, you notice here now, execution class is not login page. Execution class is login page underscore ASPX. Clearly shown you there. Okay, now this class is generated. After generating the class, what it will do? Compiles the class. And the compiled code is loaded into the memory to start the execution. So till now it is not execution. No, till now it is compilation. Till now what happened? Compilation. Execution did not start yet. All these things what I explained is about compilation. Once again, whenever a browser send a request now, who will take the request on the server? ASP.NET underscore ISAPI.dll. What this will do? This will generate a new class now, inheriting from the actual class. What is actual class? Hit count. Inheriting from the actual class, it will generate a new class. After generating the new class, the class is compiled. And now the compiled code is loaded into the memory. It will load you the compiled code into the memory. And the compiled code which is present in the memory is my point clear or not? Who wants to start the execution? The compiled code which is loaded in the memory has to start the execution. So here is your compiled code now. Okay now? Yeah, button first there. All this happens. You click on the button second time now. And now I don't quite do again recomp all these things not required now. See? In the Postback, see this picture. In the Postback, directly it will come here now. Understood or not? What you're seeing on the right side is first request. The page is not still compared. Freshly created the page. Freshly created the page and started the execution. All this happens. Array, the page is already running. I clicked on the button now. Then it goes back. Already compiled code is in the memory. Any doubts till now? First request will do all the things. Postback request will directly come here. Everything is loaded in the memory. Are you clear? After this, the page life cycle starts. Did you understand me or not? I started the discussion of page life cycle, but I did not explain life cycle till now. I only explained about compilation, that's all. I only explained about the compilation. Compilation is done. The compiled code is in the memory now. Okay, now that code should be executed, and that particular process is called as page life cycle. See, starts processing of page. What do you call? Page life cycle. And now the response is sent to the browser. The response will be sent to the browser. So I hope everyone is clear up to here. If you are clear, I'll explain about the page life cycle. Any doubts with this? Understood all of you? First request only requires compilation. Postback request doesn't require a compilation. Why? Already the code is loaded into the memory. It is in the memory ready to run now. So no need all these things. Okay. Now let me complete the lifecycle process. See. Now listen. Whenever a request comes to the server, first all these things will happen. Afterwards, lifecycle starts now. So in the life cycle, what happens is, watch it. There are different stages in the life cycle. What are the different stages is, these are the different stages here. 7 stages will be there. I'll explain you all the 7. But look at the first one. What is the first one? Page request. What is the first one? Page request. Okay. Just a minute. Read it, all of you. When a browser sends a request to the page, how this is processed on the server? How this is processed on the server? First one. This is not life cycle. This is not life cycle. See, the page request occurs before the life cycle begins. Request came now. What happened now? Request came now. Now the life cycle begins. Are you clear? Now, listen. Request came, and I explained you until compilation. Explain until compilation. That one I clearly explained about that one. Okay. Now, what should happen? Life cycle has to start. Life cycle has to start. After compilation, what starts? Life cycle. Okay. Life cycle is a series of steps, man. Not like one step. 7 steps are there. I'll explain you everything. Life cycle is a series of steps. And morning only I said you. Web applications are stateless. For every request, the complete processing will happen every time now. Means for every record, the life cycle happens. Compilation will not happen. But what happens? Life cycle will happen. Compilation will happen only once. But life cycle happens every time now. 100 times you click on the button, life cycle will happen for 100 times now. Are you clear? Okay. Suppose there is a lot of demand. There is a page here. The page has a lot of demand. Every second, 1,000 requests will come for the page throughout the world. How many? 1,000 requests will come for this page throughout the world. Thousands of requests will come for the page throughout the world. For a second, 1,000 requests, means imagine for a minute, 60,000 requests. Am I right or not? 60,000 times the life cycle should happen now. In 1 minute, for one page, how many times the life cycle should happen? 60,000 times. It will become a burden on the server. It will become a burden on the server. That is why we have an option. What is the option? First time the request came now, compilation completed, life cycle finished, result is here now. The result will be sent to the browser. I repeat, guys. First time the came completed, life cycle completed. What happened? The response is there. I have the response. The response is nothing but the result. This should be sent to the browser now. Okay, I'll say I have a result. The result should be sent as response. The result should be sent as the response. What you can do, you can do caching of the result. You can do caching of the result. What is the caching of the result? Say, we can put this result in a cache memory. We can put this result in a cache memory. What is the advantage, sir? The advantage of putting this in the cache is, in the next request, what it checks is, do I need to start the life cycle again, or the process, the result is in the cache? Do I need to perform a life cycle again, or the process output present in the cache? It will check now. If it is present in the cache now, it will take it from the cache and send to browser. It will take it from the cache and send to the browser. No result is in the cache. Then life cycle happens. Are you clearer or not? See, these are two separate scenarios. What is it? In first scenario, the result is cached. In the first scenario, the result is cached and the response is sent. In the second scenario, the result is not cached. The result is not cached. We never cache the result. Because we never cache the result, 100 times I click on the button, 100 times what will happen? Life cycle executes, result is generated, response is sent. But if I cache, first time lifecycle executes, result is cached and the response comes. From second request onwards, lifecycle process will not repeat, man. What will happen? Anytime you notice that a Facebook login page, you type Facebook, immediately login page will come off. Very fast data. Google page, all these are cached results here. All these are cached pages. Why? There is a frequent request for them now. They're all cached pages. So when the request comes, the cached output will directly come off to the browser. The cached output will directly come off to the browser. Did you understand the examples or not? The Facebook's login page, the Google page, these pages are already cached off. Because they're cached, lifecycle will not happen every time now. Are you getting my point or not? You'll have a doubt here. Sir, this cached result, how much time will it be in the cache? Did you get the question or not? How much time this is going to be in the cache now? Because if it stands for a long time, tomorrow, if any data changes, the new changes cannot be seen by the user. We can set a time frame for that. Suppose you set the time frame as 60 seconds. Imagine you set the time frame as 60 seconds. Once 60 seconds is completed, the cache gets cleared off. Next request will again do the life cycle and again cache the result for another 60 seconds. Imagine just now I sent you a simple math in 10 minutes back. A page is getting 1,000 requests for a second. Means for a minute, means for 60 seconds, you are getting 60,000 requests. Yes or not? If I can cache this page for 1 minute, if I can cache the page for 60 seconds or 1 minute, I can reduce 59,999 reprocessings by the server now. Am I right or wrong? How many times can be minimized? 59,999 reprocessings can be minimized now. Are you clear? After 60 seconds, this is adjusted. Now you go to the next second minute. When you go to the second minute, again the page is processed once now. You understand? In an hour, the page gets processed only for 60 times. Otherwise, calculate yourself. Per second, 1,000 requests. Per minute, 60,000 requests. 60,000 into 60. Are you clearer? Calculate it here. That many number of times reprocessing should be done now. Are you clear or not? That many number of times the reprocessing, how much burden on the server. But if I cache it for 1 hour, the page gets recycled or recycling happens only, the life cycle repeats only for 60 times. Only for 60 times. That is why whenever it has to process, first it checks now. What it checks, is there any cached copy available? Available, bring it up. Not available, process. Say, the simple way I'll tell you. You have, Hyderabad is very famous for its biryani. And you have good authentic biryani stores in Hyderabad. Some very famous like Paradise. These are authentic, you have this. And you know that every day, thousands of people will eat biryani for them. Will they cook for everyone, man? Will they cook this biryani for every person? No. They have their containers in such a big containers. At a time, these containers, they can cook for 400 to 500 people. 500 this biryani actually. Are you getting me? So morning, they start up their work for at morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, only the process starts actually. Okay, by 10, 11, their biryani is ready to serve. By 10, 11, their biryani is ready to serve. The morning, they cook it for 500 people now. Now people started coming to the store for eating the biryani, into the restaurant for eating the biryani. So the same thing is served for all the people now. After completing this, again, they just prepare it freshly. Means by the end, okay, it is going to complete, it will serve for another 100 people. Then they will make the second one ready now. Are you getting me or not? Otherwise, if they start cooking biryani for every person separately, every day they require to cook the biryani for thousands of people, man. Am I right or wrong? That is only I said you now also. Why to recycle every time? Let us cache it. Okay? I'm not telling how to cache it now. How to cache, we discussed that. Caching is a separate concept. They're associated with database programming. After database, I'll tell you caching also there. I'm not talking about caching now. I'm only telling you this concept is available. If caching is present, the result can be taken from the cache memory. If caching is not present, you're required to perform a life cycle again. That only I said you here. Read it again. Now you will understand this clearly. Got it? What is it telling you? Determines whether the page needs to be parsed and executed, therefore begin the life cycle, or whether the cached version of the page can be sent in response without processing the page. Can I use a cached version, or do I require to perform the life cycle? Okay, now cached version also will have life cycle first time. Cached version also will have life cycle first time. Second time it won't have the life cycle, but first time it has to have the life cycle. Now let us understand about the life cycle. What exactly happens in the life cycle? What exactly happens in the life cycle? See the sequence, man. The caching I said after life cycle. Life cycle is completed. The result is cached. Result is cached. Result is cached and the response session. But yeah, result is not cached. Result is sent as response. Did you understand the two scenarios? First, what will happen? Result is cached and the response. But yeah, result is sent as response, no caching. So first it verifies that only. What did you verify? Is there a cached copy? Yes, present. Okay, I will send the cached output to the browser. No cached copy, then you need to start from here. If there is a cache, you will stop. You're required to start from the life cycle now. Did you understand my point? Okay. Now look at the life cycle stages. Various stages in a new file is getting. When did I say file is created? I did not say file is created. Did I say file is created? A class is generated, loaded in the memory. I did not say that it's physically stored on your hard disk anywhere. I did not talk about any file name anywhere. Did I? Show me, where did I talk about the file name? I did not talk about the file name anywhere. If I talk about the file name, I should say .cs or something. Did I say that? I said a class is generated, class is compiled and executed. No file is generated, no physical storage will happen. See, when you're executing a program here, nothing is physically saved. Everything will be in the memory. Executes. Results are given to browser. Results are given to the browser. Okay. Well, watch it. Various stages in the life cycle of a page will be as following. First stage, start. What happens in the start stage? Okay, let me show you all the things clearly, one by one. Look, guys, what is our stage? Start. Start. Did you understand? In this stage, request object is created, response object is created. Is postback properties determined now? So that is postback properties helping in the page load. Do you remember? To identify whether this is a first request or postback request. All this happens in the start stage. What happens? Filter, start, request, response objects are created. And is postback property value is set as true or false. Are you clearer or not? Once again, read this. In this stage, the page properties such as request and response are created and set. And at this stage, the page also determines whether the request is a postback or a new request and sets the is postback property, which will be true if this is a postback request or else false if it is a first or get request. All this happens in the first stage. What we call start. Second, initialize. What will happen here? You used some controls on your page now. All the control objects will be created. Every control is an instance. Every control is an instance now. It will start creating the instances of the controls now. It will start creating the instances. And remember, every control requires a unique ID. And that ID property also will be set. Initialization. See, it is something like this, man. In the starting classes, you learned. What is it? Suppose you have a class called as test. Test declaration. P is equals to initialization. This is what initialization is. So all the initialization job is done in which state? The name itself is telling you initialize. The name itself is telling you this is called as initialize. Are you clear? Third. Understand this. This is the reason why I explained about a view state earlier. What is it? In the third stage, if it is a postback request, if it is a, it will read the view state values now. It will read the view state values and preserves them so that you can use them in your code now. Are you getting my point or not? All the view state values will be loaded so that you can start consuming the view state values in your code. And when it happens, load state, in the load state. Okay. So the complete view state information will be loaded. The complete view state information will be loaded. Are you guys clearer or not? Okay. So that you can consume that information in the next request. See, in the button click, see, look at this, all of you. Here, are you checking the view state value or not? You can check if it is loaded, if it is not loaded, how can you check the value? Are you getting me? That will be loaded for you to consume. That is called as load. The name itself is telling you, load the values. Load the values. Next stage. You know that, all of you? Last week, last start to ending, we learned it. Come on, read it. Understood? What I explained in the last week about validation control. Every control will check whether the is valid property is true or false now. Finally, the page is valid property will be set. If all the validation controls is valid is true, page is valid is set as true. If any one controls is valid is false, page is valid is set as false. So these are all interconnected now. And that happens in the validation stage. Next stage. That's your button click code is executing now. You click on a button, something is happening. Before the button click executes, all this sequence will happen now. So when did you check with the view state? In the button click only now? Before that in the load, even the values are loaded now. Understood or not? Before that, the values are loaded. You can see the values are loaded here. See, before loading, can I use the values? You can't use the values. So that's a one by one sequence now. Values are loaded. Afterwards, validations are performed. Finally, in the button click, you are checking all the things now. See, the validations also is valid property where you checked in the submit button only now in the last examples. When did you check? In the submit button. And that is happening before event handling. The validation stage it happened. That's why event handling stage you are able to access that value. View state value. So everything is accessible for you under the event handling state. Read it. You have 10 buttons here. You click on button one. All the 10 buttons code will execute. What will execute? What button you click, that only will execute now? That only I said you here. 10 event handlers don't expect all the time to run now. Which button you click it, that only will run. Okay, and also remember cached events. Remember cached events. That is what your practice is, man. I clearly explained about the cached events. I demonstrated about it, and now you put your half-hearted answers you are giving. Some are nodding like this, some are not answering at all. If a control is raising an event but not capable of submitting a page to the server, the event stores in the cache memory and files next time when the page is submitted. With the color dialogues I shown you. I first written the code for text box text change, but logic did not execute. When did the logic execute? After a click on the button. But the logic is not under button click. The logic is that text box text changed. I very clearly demonstrated on that. What is it? We did not write the logic in the button click. Where did we write the logic? Text box text changed. But the logic is executed when you click on the button. How this happened, sir? How this happened, I said to you. Event is filed by the text box, but unfortunately, text box is not capable of submitting the page to server. So the event is in the cache now. Now you clicked on the button, page went to server. Cached event will execute. Cached event will execute. And to avoid that, what we done finally for a text box only, we set the auto postback true. So without a need of a button, text box only will submit the value to server and execute the logic. Practice, man. You don't practice anything. How do you link to the previous concept? Everything is interconnected only. You're not practicing anything at all. I will see only few people doing it. Are you clear? What will execute? All the control events plus cached events also will fire. Control events and cached events also will fire. Now the next stage. Read it. What is happening now? Rendering is happening now. Rendering is converting into. Once rendering is converting into HTML, finally that HTML will be sent off to browser. Yes or not? And now it destroys this on the server now. Before this happens, the view state values are stored. Before this happens, the view state values are stored so that I can use them in the next time. I can use them in the next time. Before closing the restaurant, all the leftovers are put in the freezer. Yes or not? All the leftovers are put in the freezer. If you don't put them in the freezer, what will happen? Next day you come, they just spoil now. You put everything in the freezer. Next day you come back, you open the freezer and take them out. Correct? Same thing happening now. What is it? All the values are stored, the view state are stored so that I'm preserving it, so that I can use it in my next request. Clear or not? Okay. Say, and to do this rendering, every control converts into HTML now. Text box converts into input type text. Button converts into input type submit. Image button converts into input type image. Link button converts into hyperlink. Calendar converts into table. Everything I shown you in the new page source to you. Clear? And I explained you this. Remember, to do this rendering, the logic is already predefined. To do this logic, to do this rendering, already the logic is predefined. Where is it predefined? Under the control class. Under the control class. Text box class contains a method called render control. Text box class contains a method called as render control. And that method contains the HTML content which should be generated. That method contains the HTML content which should be generated. For example, you place the button like this, man. ASP colon ID is equals to txt name. Run it is equals to server. This is what you are written. Now this should be converted to HTML now. To convert this, under this class, there is one method. What is the method? Render control. Your web server will call the method now. Which method? render control. The render control will render the HTML now. So what it will do? It will convert into input. Type is equals to text. ID is equals to txt name. Name is equals to txt name. Is how it generates to you now. And this is the code you have written, and this is output that is rendered. This is the output that is rendered. And are you writing this code? What are you writing? This code. And this is going to be generated. How is it generated? In this class, there is a method. What is the method? Your web server will call that method, and that method will generate this code now. That is the output which is going to be rendered. Once again, can you read the rendering concept here? Before it does the rendering, it will store the ViewState values now and read the note also. What is this, sir? I explained you this with one picture also already. I already demonstrated about this with a clear picture to you, Elra. ASPX code is processed and converted into HTML. Where is it written? Output stream. Finally, this output stream will be sent to the browser. Read the note again. To the output stream. Right into the output stream right now. Object of pages response property means this output stream is associated with the response. Output stream is associated with the response. Finally, once everything comes into the output stream, this is sent to the browser as a output. This is sent to the browser as a output. All this happens in the rendering state. Next. Understood? Everything is whitewashed now. It's a whitewash. Clear everything. Clear everything. Everything is cleared off. If you want anything to be, you consume it later. That value should be in the view state. Otherwise, everything is cleared off now. Are you getting me? I'll tell you this in a simple words here. Take a restaurant. Take a restaurant. That started the business today. That started the business today. Nothing is there. They started the business today only. Nothing is there. So what do? You procure all the raw material. You procure all the raw material. Okay, vegetables, if it is a non-veg restaurant, a non-veg, everything you procure now. And then what you do, you start cooking the food. You start cooking the food for serving to the clients. Right now, you started cooking the food for serving it to the clients now. So customers came and you started serving the food, the restaurant. By the end of the day, now you want to close the restaurant now. What do? All the leftover will be put in the freezer. All the leftovers will be put in the freezer. After putting everything in the freezer, what will you do next? You clean everything now. Everything is cleared off. Remaining everything is cleared off and thrown into dustbin. Thrown into dustbin. Yes or not? Next day morning you come again. What do? You open the freezer, put the leftovers from the freezer. Now additionally, what is required? You procure now. Correct? And this process repeats every day now. This is also happening the same thing only. Now also it is the same thing. Come on, tell me what are the 7 stages I said you. First one. What happens in the start stage? Request and response objects are created. And is postback property value is set as true or false. In the first request, it is false. In the postback request, true. Second state, initialize. What happens here? Control instances are created, and is postback property value will be set. Is postback property I'm sorry, not is postback is created, and unique ID property will be set. I'm sorry. Third one, load. What happens in the state? Loads the values from ViewState. It will load you the values from the ViewState now. That's what the phraser is open and it's working the values from the phraser now. What values these are? Second, validations. What is validation stage? In the validation stage, we are checking whether the data validations are successful or not now. In this process, what will happen? Is valid property for each validation control is set, and finally for the page now. Okay, what will happen? Each controls is valid property will be set, and finally to the page is valid. Finally, the is valid property of page is set. If all validations are true, page is valid is true. If anyone is false, page is valid is false. Next stage, event handling. Nothing to understand here. Executes control and control events and cast events now. Got it? Control element, button click. Cast events means if everything is cast, that one. Next stage, rendering. The next stage is rendering. What happens? Stores new state values and renders the control. Renders the control to HTML. Next, unload. What happens? Everything is destroyed. Once you click on the button, all these activities will happen. You click on the button 100 times. 100 times this happen now. Sir, I don't want this to happen. Then you require to bring caching into picture. I don't want this to happen every time. Then you require to bring caching into picture. How to bring caching into action, I'll tell you. But we'll put the caching aside. But general life cycle process is this one. So tomorrow you go to interview on .NET. And if you say you know ASP.NET Web Forms, this is a mandatory question that is asked in every interviews. Explain me the page life cycle. So what you should start with, if a request comes to a page now, the web server will first generate a new class, and that class is compiled and loaded into memory to start the processing. And afterwards, life cycle starts. And the life cycle involves how many stages? 7 stages. What is that? And you cannot change the sequence. Be clear in the sequence. You cannot change the sequence. I'll tell you a simple shortcut to remember the sequence of your events. Come on. First one, start. The second one, third, load. 4, 5, 6. Remember that word. If you remember that word, you want to expand the life cycle, remember this word first. Silver U, okay. Silver, S, start. I, initialize. L, load. Z, validation. E, event handling. R, rendering. U, unload. Is it clear? If you change the sequence, again, the meanings will change. Be very careful. That's what I'm telling you. You must tell in the same sequence. So remember this word so that you will immediately remember what sequence the events are going to come into picture. Start, initialize, load, validating, event handling, rendering, and unload are the different stages of your life cycle. I said you after life cycle only. What do you listen, man? When will caching happen? After life cycle. What I said you? 100 life cycles can be reduced to one life cycle. I said you, that's all. In a second, 100 life cycles are there. In a second, 100 life cycles are there. What can I do? I can reduce to one now. I can reduce to one and escape from the remaining 99. How, sir? By storing this in the cache memory. That is what I said you. I did not say life cycle is not required. Without a life cycle, caching won't happen now. Okay? You can minimize the life cycles. That is the concept of the caching. I tell you caching with the database programming here. I tell you caching with database programming, but we'll come across caching also. Are you guys clear with all the 7 attributes? Sorry, 7 stages of the life cycle? If close the page and open, wait, Raja will talk about it. But someone last class they asked about this one. I don't remember who asked about this one, about the view state values, and all. Yeah, the view state values, they asked about, they are preserved in the next request. Yeah, in the life cycle stage, I understand. What is it? In the rendering stage, the view state values are preserved. And in the load state, the view state values are loaded. In the rendering stage, they are preserved. Yeah, in the load state, they are loaded. Means before you are closing the restaurant, you put everything in the freezer. Tomorrow morning, you open the restaurant, you will take out all this from the freezer. That's what. Okay. Look at this picture, all of you. Actually, this is saving state here, wrongly typed there, saving state. The saving state, the view state. Saving the view state. Afterwards, disposing, unloading. Listen, initializing in same in both. Afterwards, you have an extra thing, see? Array, view state values are loaded now. Okay, now? Loading, same again. Pre-rendering. What is pre-rendering? First time, nothing will be there. But here, postback data has to be loaded. Where is it? A form collection and query string collection postback data is available. You need to load the data and process the data now. Afterwards, saving state. All of you, listen. Pre-rendering, saving state. Here, see. Before, in between loading and pre-rendering, we have an extra state here. Loading the postback data. Afterwards, saving state. Saving state is same again. Afterwards, rendering. Afterwards, disposing. Afterwards, what are the extra things? Tell me. Loading view state and loading postback data. Remaining all same only. Loading view state values. Loading postback data is. Loading view state means from the freezer. Loading postback data means new. You purchase something newly now, and all the things are bought into the restaurant. In the morning, someone from the restaurant goes to the market and purchases fresh vegetables and all and get them now. So what do you have? You have the yesterday's. Your yesterday resources are taken out from the freezer. Fresh resources are taken from the user. Maybe these values in the end of the day again you put them in the freezer again now. Okay. So these are the first time request of a page, post back of the page. This is the process how the actions are going to be repeated for you in the first request and the post back request. Clear on all of you? I will look on this. Just let me take you to this source now. All of you. Observe the first line. Observe the first line. What does the first line contain? Page. First attribute. All of you know about that attribute now. What is that? In which language are you writing the code for the page now? C#. Okay. I'll explain the third one also after you invite up. Just a minute. You know that now? What is that? The code behind file for this. The code behind file for this. Last one. What is this, sir? Inherits. The new class generator will inherit from this class. I repeat, the new class generated. What is the new class generated? Hit count underscore ASPX inherits from hit count. Hit count underscore ASPX inherits from the hit count. Watch here. Inherits from hit count. That is the meaning of the last one. When you look at this, you'll understand the language attribute, you'll understand the code behind attribute also. But two things will be confusing for you. What are the two things? What is auto event write up, sir? What is this inherits? Are you getting me or not? Okay, so remember, inherits means the new class will inherit from hit count class. Okay, so what is auto event write up? What is this? Auto event write up. Listen, every event handler, listen carefully, every event handler should be linked with an event for execution. Am I right or wrong? I repeat, every event handler should be linked with an event for execution. Right or wrong? Yes. How this linking will happen? You can link this in the source view by writing on click is equals to the name of the event handler. Yes or not? See in the button click, see guys? If I delete this code, will the button click execute? Let us see. Run. I did not delete it now. Okay, now let me come here. I delete this binding now. Run. Button click code will not run now. Why? Method is present here. No problem to the method. Method is present. But what is missing? The link between the event and the event handler. The controls event and the event handler are missing now. Because the link is missing, if I click on this button, nothing is happening here. Am I right? Why? Because this link is missing. And do you remember this link can be done in the code view also? How? Source I'm telling you want to design here. So in the code view I'm telling you, btn click plus equals to button btn count underscore click. I shown you now. Right in the code view. How? btn click dot which event? Click event plus is equals to the name of the event handler. What is the name? And this concept I shown you when I was creating controls, properties, and all the three stages I shown you. Are you clear? Without this binding, none of the event handler will execute. None of the event handler will execute. But did you notice this one? What? The page load event handler here. The page load event handler here. You notice this? If I write any code here, will this code execute? Sorry. Okay, run. Will this execute or not? But where is this thing went? Button click binding we saw. Where this page, see this code executed, see button click is executing, and I removed this and shown you the button click did not execute when the binding is deleted here. But the big doubt in our mind is, sir, without executing, event handlers won't run. No, they won't run. Then how is this executing? Where is it bound? Are you clearer or not? No binding took place anywhere, but still the code is executing now. How all these things are happening? All these things are happening because of as auto event wire up. Because of the, what is this? What the value? It's a bound property with the value true. If I set this auto event wire up to event as a true, sorry, auto event wire up property as true, Page events will fire without binding. Page events will fire without binding. Check it out, all of you. I will make this as false. Page event will not fire. See. Hello world is not printed on the screen. Check it out. Did not print now? If I make it true again. And that facility is only for page events only, or not for any other events. Only for page events only. Only for page events only the flexibility is given. Sir, if you make it true, the code is not executing now. If you make it true, the code is not executing. How to make it execute? How to make it execute? Then I should write a manual binding code again. How you know? Public hit count. What is this? Brainless fellows. Constructor here. You completed object-oriented programming and don't know what is this. Constructor. What have you done? Constructor. And then the binding should be done now. Page dot load plus equals to page underscore load. Array, same process only we bound it. Button one dot click plus equals to button one underscore click. This binding should be done. Now the binding code is present. Constructor. You're required to write this code in the constructor. See now, even though the value is false, this code will execute now. See. Without doing the manual bindings again, they given a property called as auto event wire up and said, you make it false, I will take care of it. No, I don't want it like this, miss. Make it false and you must do the bindings manually again. See now the hello world is executing again now. Why it executed? Because the binding happened here. Okay, let me comment this binding again and run. You won't see hello world output. Are you clear? And you'll have a doubt here. So you're telling page events, but only one event is there. Yes or not? Sir, you're telling page events, only one event is there. Multiple events are there, sir. I'll show you. Wait. I'll show you. We have multiple events on a page. I will show you. We are going to use it in the next classes. But remember, with a page event, we never require binding. With a page event, we never require binding. The auto event wire up is going to take care. So make it true. Come here and delete the constructor. Delete the constructor. See, tomorrow the interview can ask you a question. What is auto event wire up? What's the answer? It's a Boolean property, and if you set as true, make the page events to fire without any binding. The page events to fire without any binding. So next question will be, so if it make it false, what will happen? If you make false, page events will not fire. How to make them fire? You need to write a constructor and write the binding code in the constructor. Are you clear? This is what, if you can explain it like this, the interviewer gets the satisfaction. You understood the concept first. Am I clear? It's all about relating everything now. That's what the concept you're trying to understand. By default, bindings will take place. And these bindings are disabled now by setting the auto event wire up as false. Then manual binding should be done. Guys, tell me, if I delete this attribute, what happens? I delete it. Will the page events fire or will not fire? Let us see. Let us see. Fire or will not fire? The default value itself is true. Even though you don't write also, default is true. Even though you don't write also, default is true. That the attribute is not required. I hope you understood all the attributes of the page now. First one, to the language in which you are implementing. Second one, this is for automatic binding of page events. This is for automatic binding of the page events. Third one, code behind is to tell the code behind file for this page. Fourth one, inherits. This is to tell the new class is going to inherit from this class. What is the new class? hit count underscore ASPX, and that class is inheriting from the hit count. This is all about how these are all the attributes of your page. Am I clear with the life cycle, all of you? Okay, so understand the concept perfectly first. So if you want to understand, see why I said in the middle, I said all these things in the middle. Generally, page life cycle, they say in the start. But in the starting class, if I talk about the ViewState, what will you understand now? In the starting class, I say about rendering, event handling, validations. You don't know. That is why first I explained about validations to you. Is valid property. Then I explained you page handling, cached events. Then I said you about state, all these particular things, and finally we understood, okay, this is what exactly the relation between all the things. Are you clear? Yes or not? So this is all about the page life cycle, and tomorrow I'll teach you about how do you handle exceptions in web applications. How to handle the exceptions in the web application. Means the traditional try catch will use it, but you have different options to do it. In this, I'll explain you about the additional events of the page. Also, page has more events than the load. I'll show you all the appropriate things. Okay, let's stop here. We'll meet tomorrow.